Welcome to today's episode of the AI Trailblazer podcast. Today we have a very exciting guest. He is none other than Matt, the founder and CEO at Atiom. So, Matt, it's a great pleasure to have you here with us on the podcast today. Let's start off a bit with yourself. What is your background and what led you to start Atiom?
Hey, Bruce, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here today and appreciate the invitation. Long story short, moved to China over 15 years ago, taught myself Chinese in about 5 minutes a day using bite-sized modules on Mandarin. And I got up to a level that got me a job fully in Chinese. And I thought if, an American can learn Mandarin in the lazy student format, which is 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at night, then we must be able to apply these kind of frameworks to other my colleagues or other companies. I've always been really passionate about performance and optimization and kind of like biohacking and these kind of things. So I met my business partner in South China, and he was a gaming guy, and we kind of combined forces, gamification with this bite-sized frameworks to eventually start Atiom. And although we started in the training field, we've evolved into a full suite platform that still has at its core bite-sized activities. And we built that for frontline teams, so deskless workforce, in particular in hospitality and facility management, real estate, and now we're working in airlines as well. And our goal is really to make the front lines happier and more productive at work. We try to build habits that shift performance at the front lines and enable leaders to help their staff perform better and keep them longer. So yeah, that's in a nutshell.
Well, it's interesting how your journey of trying to learn Chinese in a bite-sized manner actually led you to starting this company. So could you walk me through like some more specifics as to what kind of problem does Atiom solve, and like for what kind of target audience specifically as well?
Sure. So we're servicing mainly the frontline workforce. So that would be, although many hotels don't call them frontlines, just think of like guest facing teams. So when you check into a hotel, you have concierge, you have front desk, you have housekeeping, you have food and beverage staff. So these are the teams that we're really trying to enable to do better at their job. And the main problem that we're looking to solve is if you go to a big corporate, many of the frontliners don't have access to the same tools that their office colleagues do. So think Cornerstone, LinkedIn Learning, SAP, Success Factors, even email addresses. Many of them don't have access to an email address. So how do we continue to give them the support and attention they need to do their job well? It's funny, many companies complain that their teams keep leaving or they're not staying around, but they're also not giving them any attention. So it's a bit of a catch-22. A lot of companies are afraid to invest in frontlines because they're just going to leave. But I forget who said it, but there's nothing worse than a frontliner or a colleague or a worker staying in a job and not being trained. It's better that they leave. In a nutshell, we're trying to keep the teams happier, safer, more productive at work. So.
Then now let's talk a bit about your role within Atiom. What are your chief responsibilities on a day-to-day basis as the founder and CEO, and then how does it fit into the bigger picture at Atiom?
Sure. So my primary goal is business development, looking for big opportunities and partnerships for Atiom. So I helped lead the way on our global partnership with Accor and also with IHG in Southeast Asia, Korea, and now Minor Group, which includes well-known brands like Anantara and Avani and NH Collection in Asia and the Middle East. So yeah, looking for big opportunities on the business development side. And then also I've led although we haven't done any large fundraising round, we haven't been bootstrapped, but we do have a pool of investors that have been advocating for us since day one. So started with friends and family, and the network grew. So I've been also responsible for managing those relationships with our investors and helping, just gathering support and help from them on the business side as well. So those are my two primary responsibilities. As any co-founder in our company, we wear many hats. So also covering things like finance and customer success with my one of my partners, Ali.
Okay, cool. So when you mentioned about business development, can you share more as well, like what kind of go-to-market channels does Atiom use to acquire most of its customers? Like what are the channels that are working well as well? And then what are those that hasn't worked as well as you expected?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. I think since we started, I spent over 15 years. I've been in Asia for over 15 years, so we have a really strong network. Shanghai, Hong Kong, Singapore, and the surrounding countries, or surrounding cities, I should say. And so I think we relied very heavily on our strong relationships in the market. Now we're in the Middle East, so it's still it's still in its early days, but we also have a very good network building there via our government partner Hub 71. They've really given us a smooth landing into the region, so we've managed to build up a strong network there. So yeah, to answer your question, most of our BD has been through relationships, referrals to advisors, our investors, and now we're experimenting more with outbound AI driven, let's say AI enabled business development. That's being led by one of our growth team members. And that's very interesting because that includes like creating, hopefully doing something similar to what you're doing, which is like podcast interviews with thought leaders and taking that content and then turning it into interesting value added reads for our customers and partners. And then we're also looking at developing out our partner network. So if a company is doing offline consultation, employee enablement programs or facilitation or training programs, how can they leverage Atiom in their suite of services as well to drive happier and more productive workforce? So then I'd say the part that hasn't worked is, although we have a big network on LinkedIn, I think LinkedIn is great. You need to be on it, but it hasn't, let's say we haven't found any business through LinkedIn. It's still, for us, it's still very heavily reliant on face-to-face interactions, relationships, and referrals.
Sounds like there are quite a number of different initiatives, from the funding partners to outbound AI driven marketing, and then also of course the most important and the key driver, face to face relationship building. So now let's talk a bit about your goals for Atiom. Where do you want to be 6 to 12 months from now?
So we've already went global with one of our customers, so in 70 countries, but I think it'd be great to build out those new markets, in particular in the Middle East and Europe. These are big growing markets for us, so to capitalize on some of those opportunities. And then we're starting to lay the groundwork for the future of Atiom in terms of product. So we've already launched a number of different AI tools, but the plan is to build out that suite and make AI very accessible for our customers as well. Many customers that we speak to, they want to use AI, they don't know how to use it. We're trying to build the tools that they can bring the practical side of AI to their everyday work, whether they're leaders or the frontline workforce.
Okay. Then what would you say have been some of the biggest obstacles or roadblocks that you have faced while trying to reach these goals? Of trying to implement AI to your clients as well as expanding to more specific regions like the Middle East.
I think on the AI side, a lot of clients expect the AI tools to be extremely robust on the, like, let's say the B2B software side very quickly, but I think there's still a lot of research and development that's going around in the space, and we need to remember that in order for AI to work well, it needs to be trained over time, and you need to spend time doing that. It's not like you can just flick a switch and suddenly you have all this AI capability on the corporate side. So just manage your expectations around what AI can do and what level of sophistication it's at right now. This is a challenge. I think also we come up to a lot of roadblocks with, not roadblocks, but challenges with IT and data security in terms of like very lengthy questionnaires, which we've went through a lot of this process and doing all the data checks and security checks to make sure that Atiom is up to standard, which it is, but it just, a lot of the paperwork can be quite arduous on our team. So all the time spent filling out paperwork is time away from development. So overall, I think we're moving in the right direction. We're really excited about the future of AI, and we think Atiom is a very good use case for AI application. So yeah, 6 to 12 months from now looks very exciting for us.
You've pointed out like a couple of different areas of these challenges, from the IT compliance to the AI and managing expectations. But let's say hypothetically, if you had a magic wand to fix one thing in the business right now that is either slowing you down or holding your progress to get to your goals, what would that one thing be?
That's a very good question. I would say probably getting some help on the business development front. So if we could find like a really high level head of sales and marketing, for example, I think that would solve for quite a few challenges in the business. We're bringing in a lot of great clients, but it's mostly being driven by the founders of the company. So I think this is a big, let's say, challenge that we want to overcome. And then, yeah, just in terms of capacity. But anyways, you asked for one thing, so we'll just solve
Yeah,
for that one thing right now. There's always many things to solve for in a new
right.
business.
So in a dream scenario, what would this head of marketing and sales have to handle in terms of the responsibilities, so that it can be considered a success to you?
Yeah, I would say they'd be opening up new opportunities with other industry leaders in hospitality and potentially beyond the hospitality industry, i.e., airlines, cruise lines, etc. So yeah, and they would likely be very specialized in these industries and also have like 10 plus years of experience in sales and business development, potentially slash marketing.
Makes sense. Then I guess my other like more specific question would be like what sort of matrix are you trying to improve right now when you try to hire this person, or what are the key matrix that you really want to improve as the founder and CEO?
Yeah, so I'd say entry into new markets. So again, we already cover, for example, we cover all of the GCC, but I think there's still a lot of untapped opportunities in there. So thinking about Saudi Arabia, the UAE, even like Egypt, for example. I think these regions are quite interesting. But the UAE, even in and of itself, between all the Emirates, you have a lot of different interesting opportunities in the hospitality industry. So yeah, expansion into those new markets, so new brands, new companies, and then potentially new industries as well. But again, we're very focused on hospitality. So when I say new industries, I'm thinking adjacent to hospitality, whether that's facility management that are still very focused on being service first slash safety first, or something like the airline business, which I think a lot of airlines, the way that they train, the way that they engage and drive performance in their staff is very similar to how a hotel runs and enables their teams as well.
Then why is it so important for you to, expand into new geographies, new industries, instead of, let's say, deepening existing client relationships?
I'd say the existing client relationships are already they're growing every week. We're setting up new hotels, new brands, new regions, and that's like very well controlled. In fact, in many cases, we're not even asking our clients if they want to expand. They're asking us if they can bring Atiom to new brands, to the new departments, to new business cases. So let's say that's like a well-running machine. We have very happy clients. We haven't lost a client in 3 years. So once someone's signed in the past few years, they've only grown. So that's why we need someone that potentially has a new network, new experience that can open up new markets and new partners for our business.
Makes sense. What would happen if you don't manage to expand successfully as you would like to these new industries, new geographies?
And then we'll keep going. We'll keep going, keep growing our current client base. Our current client base and the trajectory of growth is already very promising. So we've always been a very slow and steady kind of business, let's say sustainable. We're profitable. So we're really happy with the health of the business. But of course, as entrepreneurs, we always want to go big or go home. So the idea is always to grow, as you know.
That makes sense. And I'm guessing that's the biggest priority for the next 6 to 12 months as well, to expand into new markets. Or are there any other big
Correct.
priorities?
For the moment, that's the biggest priority is to really I mean, that's, I'm spending a lot of time in the Middle East and we're trying to capture new opportunities there via our current clients and growing network there with Hub 71.
Okay, so sort of going into the last segment of our podcast now, what kind of shifts or trends are you seeing in your industry right now, and then how is that impacting the growth of Atium?
So yeah, very obviously with the AI development, again, I think we're a perfect use case for a lot of the things that are happening with AI, whether it's like voice to voice interactions, content transformation and development, or the tech side on the tools, like how people interact with the tools. I think Aptium is really well positioned to leverage a lot of the AI development. And again, to bridge the gap between the theoretical AI could be used for X, Y, and Z and bridging that with how the frontline teams can actually use AI on a daily basis. This is super interesting. However, with all the AI and all this new technology, I mean, we work in the hospitality business. It's a people to people business. It requires personalization. I think, we pride ourselves in doing bite-sized activities in the app. So I think 3, 4, or 5 minutes a day because we're in the people business. We don't want people to be on their phones or computers all day. And I think that as we continue to develop, especially with AI, many people are going to we already do crave human interaction more than ever. So doing things offline will become more and more significant, I think, for people. And in fact, it might be one of the only things that people trust in the next 3 or 4 years is actually speaking and being with someone offline. Otherwise, how do we know if it's not AI or something like this? So yeah, as much as the AI is taking us, there's a very big wave developing. I think the human to human interaction is going to become even more important, especially in the business of hospitality.
Yeah, makes sense. So can you share like a more specific example of like how is Atium, implementing this kind of face-to-face interaction, bite-sized activities with your clients?
Yeah, so right now so you have daily quests on the app. So those are all things that you do on the app, but again, it's bite-sized. So it's designed, you answer 3, 4, or 5 questions, whether it's on an engagement survey or a new promotion or potentially a standard operating procedure, and then you go back to work. We have a very exciting tool that we're developing for one of our clients. It's a challenges feature. So that's to encourage offline quests or challenges. And then those are then recorded in the app. And that's really great because that's going to encourage like offline, colleagues to go above and beyond the call of duty for customers offline. But then we're still able to give our leaders that we work with, metrics and measurable impact readout. Okay, what happened offline and how does that correlate to what's happening in terms of training engagement with the front lines? So yeah, it's a very interesting time. And then I guess another thing that's notable is our AI suite around tutoring and role play. So that's putting people in kind of real situations on the app, teaching them how to handle an annoying guest or check into a customer. Or if someone has a food allergy, what do you do? So that's really interesting to give people confidence and knowledge on how to handle those situations in real life. So those are a couple examples. Yeah.
So it's really about gamifying sort of their customer facing responsibilities and challenges that they might face on a day-to-day basis, and using that as a way to improve their performance.
Yeah, correct. I mean, our Atiom at the end of the day is all about building positive habits. So once we have the habit built with the teams, they're getting points, they're getting rewards for doing activities in the app, then it's very easy to apply everything from health and wellness to sustainability to operational excellence in terms of business cases on Atiom. So every business case that we identify with the customer, we do an activation or we build like a playbook that they can use to activate that content or mobilize it on Atiom and slowly move that content or intended behaviors from the boardroom into the frontline workforce.
Right. Okay. Sounds like you're doing a very valuable thing for the hospitality industry. So that is about it for the podcast interview, Matt. Once again, thank you for taking the time and jump on this podcast to share these valuable insights with our audience, especially when it comes to the latest trends in the hospitality tech industry. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thanks, Bruce. Thanks again for the invitation. Nice to speak with you.
Yeah, you're welcome.